You've seen it, right? Millions of people are glued to their screens, absolutely losing their minds. Their entire week's happiness hinging on a bunch of people they've never met, moving a ball. And then there's the other side, the people who just don't get it at all. If you're in that second group, you've probably wondered, am I missing something here? Well, the answer isn't about a lack of passion. Turns out it's all about your brain. Yep, that's right. Your complete indifference to the Super Bowl or the World Cup isn't some kind of personality flaw. It could actually mean your brain is literally, physically wired differently from the sports fanatics in your life. We're about to dive into the neuroscience behind this huge divide. And trust me, what we find is pretty fascinating. And just look at the scale of this thing. It's kind of surprising, isn't it? While, yeah, 60% of American adults follow sports, that means a massive 40% do not. We're talking tens of millions of people. This isn't some tiny little niche group. It's a huge, often totally overlooked part of the population. So that leads us to the big question, the real heart of what we're talking about today. We kind of get why fans watch, the excitement, the community, but what is going on neurologically with everyone else? Why does one person's brain see this epic struggle for glory, while another's just sees, well, people running around in shorts? It all starts with one of our oldest, most powerful instincts. I mean, think about it. For thousands and thousands of years, being part of a group, a tribe, meant survival. Our brains are hardwired to seek one out. And for a lot of people, sports are the ultimate modern-day tribe. And this is why sports fandom is so incredibly powerful. It isn't just a casual hobby. It's like a direct hack into our evolutionary psychology. It taps into that ancient, deep-seated need to belong, to have an us to root for, and of course, a them to compete against. And here is where the brain chemistry really kicks in. When a fan watches their team, their brain releases oxytocin. That's the same hormone that bonds a mother to her baby. It literally tricks the brain into feeling like these millionaire athletes are part of the family. The non-fan brain, on the other hand, it just tends to operate with lower tribal instincts. The sense of identity is more individualistic, and there's way less of that automatic us versus them thinking. They just don't get that instant rush of hatred for the person wearing the wrong colored jersey. Okay, but it goes even deeper than just social bonding. For the fan's brain, sports are also a really powerful and, yeah, potentially addictive chemical cocktail. It's all about something called the dopamine loop. So this right here, this is the engine that drives sports obsession. fMRI scans actually show that watching a close game lights up the same reward centers in your brain as gambling does. And here's the key. It's not actually the winning that gets you hooked. It's the uncertainty. That feeling of not knowing what's going to happen next, that's what fires up dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. And because the rewards, a great play, a sudden score, are totally unpredictable, it creates something called intermittent reinforcement. That is the single most addictive reward schedule known to psychology. It's the exact same principle that makes slot machines so impossible to walk away from. And get this, that whole dopamine system we were just talking about, well, your sensitivity to it might literally be in your genes. New research suggests that tiny variations in our dopamine receptor genes can actually predict how much we care about watching competitive sports. So if your brain just isn't wired to get that same chemical rush from watching other people compete, well, it might just be the way you were built. Okay, so we've got tribalism and we've got dopamine. But there's a third, really personal piece to this puzzle. It's how a team's performance gets all tangled up with a fan's own sense of self-worth. Have you ever noticed this? This tiny little pronoun switch reveals something huge. It's a powerful psychological phenomenon called basking in reflected glory. Fans connect themselves directly with a victory. We won. But they create distance from a failure. They lost. It's basically a way of borrowing self-esteem from the team's success. This creates a massive difference in how self-esteem works. For a diehard fan, it can be a real roller coaster, rising and falling with every win and loss. They might actually need those external victories to feel successful. For the non-fan, though, self-esteem tends to be a lot more stable because it's generated internally. Their sense of self-worth just isn't riding on what a group of people they've never met do on a field. It gives them a more resilient sense of self. Now, this is where things get really, really interesting. You might assume that non-fans are just less empathetic, but that's not it at all. It's not about a lack of empathy. It's about how that empathy gets spent. Think of it this way. Everyone has a limited budget for how much they can care about things. For the fan, a huge slice of their empathy pie is dedicated to their team. I mean, they practice caring deeply about the struggles, the triumphs, the injuries of players, coaches,
even other fans. It's this really concentrated emotional investment, all focused on one specific area.
The non-fan, however, takes that exact same amount of emotional energy and basically diversifies their portfolio. In fact, studies have found that people with low interest in sports often score higher in personality traits like openness to experience and a love for art and beauty. They're getting their emotional highs and empathetic connections from social causes, their own creative projects, personal relationships, a much wider, more varied range of sources. So, what does this all boil down to? It's not that one group is right and the other is wrong. It's that they are playing two fundamentally different games when it comes to finding meaning and building a narrative for their lives. This leads to a huge distinction in how people engage with the world. Fans often practice something called parasocial investment. It's like being a huge fan of a character in a TV show. You invest a ton of emotion, but you know it's a one-way street. They find meaning in an external story that they have absolutely no control over. Non-fans, on the other hand, they tend to prefer direct engagement. They invest their emotional energy where there's some kind of reciprocity, in a relationship, in a personal project, in a cause. Places where their involvement can actually influence the outcome. They'd rather be a participant in their own story, not just a spectator of someone else's. And at the end of the day, one way is not better than the other. They are just two different, equally valid strategies for satisfying that very human need for community, for reward, and for meaning. The fan gets to experience this profound communal joy that's honestly hard to find anywhere else, while the non-fan often builds a more resilient kind of self-worth through direct participation. Whether your connection comes through a stadium or a studio, it's all about how your unique brain is calibrated to find. So the next time someone asks you, hey, did you see the game last night? And you genuinely have no idea what they're talking about, just remember this. You're not broken, you're not boring. You're just invested somewhere else. And it's worth asking yourself, where are you finding your tribe, your dopamine hit, and your meaning? What game are you playing?